What's up, guys? Welcome to April 3rd as we dive into Judges chapter 9, verses 22, where it talks about Shechem's revolt against Abimelech. After Abimelech had ruled over Israel for 3 years, God sent a spirit that stirred up trouble between Abimelech and the leading citizens of Shechem, and they revolted. God was punishing Abimelech for murdering Gideon's 70 sons and the citizens of Shechem for supporting him in this treachery of murdering his brothers. The citizens of Shechem set an ambush for Abimelech on the hilltops and robbed everyone who passed that way. But someone warned Abimelech about their plot. One day, Gal, son of Abed, moved to Shechem with his brothers and gained the confidence of the leading citizens of Shechem. During the annual festival at Shechem, held in the temple of the local god, the wine flowed freely and everyone began cursing Abimelech. "Who's Abimelech?" Gal shouted. "He's not a true son of Shechem, so why should we be his servants? He's merely the son of Gideon, and this Zebul is merely his deputy. Serve the true sons of Hamor, the founder of Shechem. Why should we serve Abimelech? If I were in charge here, I would get rid of Abimelech. I would say to him, get some soldiers and come out and fight." But when Zebul, the leader of the city, heard what Gaal was saying, he was furious. He sent messengers to Abimelech in Arumah, telling him, "Gaal, son of the Abed, and his brothers have come to live in Shechem, and now they are inciting the city to rebel against you. Come by night with an army and hide out in the fields. In the morning, as soon as it is daylight, attack the city. When Gaal and those who were with him come out against you, you can do with him as you wish." So Abimelech and all his men went by night and split into 4 groups, stationing themselves around Shechem. Gaal was standing at the city gate when Abimelech and his army came out of hiding. When Gaal saw them, he said to Zebul, Look, there are people coming down from the hilltops." Zebul replied, "It's just the shadows on the hills that look like men." But again, Gaal said, "No, people are coming down from the hills, and another group is coming down the road past the diviner's oak." Then Zebul turned on him and asked, "Now, where is that big mouth of yours? Wasn't it you that said, 'Who is Abimelech, and why should we be his servants?' The men you mocked are right, and outside the city, go out and fight them." So Gaal led the leading citizens of Shechem into a battle against Abimelech, but Abimelech chased him, and many of the Shechem's men were wounded and fell along the road as they retreated to the city gate. Abimelech returned to Arumah. Zebul drove Gaal and his brothers out of Shechem. The next day, the people of Shechem went out into the fields to battle. When Abimelech heard about it, he divided his men into 3 groups and set an ambush in the fields. When Abimelech saw the people coming out of the city, he and his men jumped up from their hiding places and attacked them. Abimelech and his group stormed the city gate to keep the men of Shechem from getting back in, while Abimelech's other 2 groups cut them down in the fields. The battle went on all day before Abimelech finally captured the city. He killed the people, leveled the city, and scattered salt all over the ground. When the leading citizens who lived in the tower of Shechem heard what had happened, they ran and hid in the temple of Baal Berith. Someone reported to Abimelech that the citizens had gathered in the temple, so he led his forces to Mount Zalmon. He took an axe and chopped some branches from a tree, then put them on his shoulder. "Quick, do as I have done," he told his men. So each of them cut down some branches following Abimelech's example. They piled the branches against the walls of the temple and set them on fire. So all the people who had lived in the tower of Shechem died, about 1,000 men and women. Then Abimelech attacked the towns of Thadbaz and captured it, but there was a strong tower inside the town, and all the men and children, the entire population, fled to it. They barricaded themselves in and climbed up the roof of the tower. Abimelech followed them to attack the tower, but as he prepared to set fire to the entrance, a woman of the roof dropped a millstone that landed on Abimelech's head and crushed his skull. He quickly said to his young armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and kill me. Don't let it be said that a woman killed Abimelech." So the young man ran him through with his sword, and he died. When Abimelech's men saw that he was dead, they disbanded and returned to their homes. In this way, God punished Abimelech for the evil he had done against his father by murdering his 70 brothers. God also punished the men of Shechem for all their evil, so the curse of Jotham, son of Gideon, was fulfilled. Judges chapter 10. Tola becomes Israel's judge. After Abimelech died, Tola, son of Paz, son of Dodo, was the next person to rescue Israel. He was from the tribe of Issachar, but lived in the town of Shamir in the hill country of Ephraim. He judged Israel for 23 years. When he died, he was buried in Shamir. Jar became Israel's judge. After Tola died, Jar from Gilead judged Israel for 22 years. His 30 sons rode around on 30 donkeys, and they owned 30 towns in the land of Gilead, which are still called the towns of Jar. When Jar died, he was buried in Carmon. The Ammonite oppressed Israel. The Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight. They served the images of Baal and Ashtaroth, and the gods of Aram, Sidon, Moab, Ammon, and Philistia. They abandoned the Lord and no longer served him at all. So the Lord burned with anger against Israel, and he turned them over to the Philistines and Ammonites, who began to oppress them that year. For 18 years they oppressed all the Israelites east of the Jordan River in the land of Amorites, that is, in Gilead. The Ammonites also crossed to the west side of the Jordan and attacked Judah, Benjamin, and Ephraim. The Israelites were in great distress. Finally, they cried out to the Lord for help, saying, "We have sinned against you because we have abandoned you as our God and have served the images of Baal." The Lord replied, "I did not rescue you from the Egyptians, the Amorites and Ammonites, and the Philistines, the Sidonians, the Amalekites, and the Moabites. When they oppressed you, you cried out to me for help, and I rescued you. Yet you have abandoned me and served other gods, so I will not rescue you anymore. Go and cry out to the gods you have chosen. Let them rescue you in your hours of distress." But the Israelites pleaded with the Lord and said, "We have sinned. Punish us as you see fit. Only rescue us today from our enemies." Then the Israelites put aside their foreign gods and served the Lord, and he was grieved by their misery. At that time the armies of Ammon had gathered for war and were camped in Gilead, and the people of Israel assembled and camped at Mizpah. The leaders of Gilead said to each other, "Whoever attacks the Ammonites first will become ruler over all the people of Gilead." Chapter 11. Jephthah becomes Israel's judge. Now, Jephthah of Gilead was a great warrior. He was a son of Gilead, but his mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also had several sons, and when these half-brothers grew up, they chased Jephthah off the land. You will not get any of our father's inheritance," they said, "for you are the son of a prostitute." So Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. Soon he had a band of worthless rebels following him. About this time, the Ammonites began their war against Israel. Ammonites attacked, and the elders of Gilead sent for Jephthah in the land of Tob. The elders said, "Come and be our commander. Help us fight the Ammonites." But Jephthah said to them, "Aren't you the ones who hated me and just drove me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you are in trouble?" Because we need to, the elders replied. If you lead us in battle against the Ammonites, we will make you ruler all over the people of Gilead. Jephthah said to the elders, let me get this straight. If I come over with you, and if the Lord gives me victory over the Ammonites, will you really make me ruler all over the people? The Lord is our witness. The elders replied, we promise to do whatever you say. So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him ruler and commander of the army at Mizpah in the presence of the Lord. Jephthah repeated what he had said to the elders. When Jephthah sent messengers to the king of Ammon, asking, why have you come all out to fight against my land? The king of Ammon answered Jephthah's messengers, when the Israelites came out of Egypt, they stole my land from the Arnon River to the Jabbok River and all the way to the Jordan. Now then, give back the land peacefully. Jephthah sent this message back to the Ammonite king. This is what Jephthah says. Israel did not steal any land from Moab or Ammon. When the people of Israel arrived at Kadesh on their journey from Egypt after crossing the Red Sea, they sent messengers to the king of Edom asking for permission to pass through his land, but their request was denied. Then they asked the king of Moab for similar permission, but he wouldn't let them pass through either. So the people of Israel stayed in Kadesh. Finally, they went around Edom and Moab through the wilderness. They traveled along Moab's eastern borders and camped on the other side of the Arnon River, but they never once crossed the Arnon River into Moab, for the Arnon was the border of Moab. When Israel sent messengers to King Sihon of the Amorites, who ruled from Heshbon, asking for permission to cross through his land to get to their destinations, but King Sihon didn't trust Israel to pass through his land. Instead, he mobilized his army at Jahaz and attacked them. But the Lord, the God of Israel, gave his people victory over King Sihon. So Israel took control of the land of the Amorites who lived in that region, from the Arnon River to the Jabbok River, and from the eastern wilderness to the Jordan. So you see, it was the Lord, the God of Israel, who took away the land from the Amorites and gave it to the Israelites. Why then should we give it back to you? You kept whatever your God Chemosh gives you, and we will keep whatever the Lord our God gives us. Are you any better than Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he try to make a case against Israel for disputed land? Did he go to war against them? Israel has been living here for 300 years, inhabiting Heshbon and its surrounding settlements, all the way to Arur and its settlements, and in the towns along the Arnon River. Why have you made no effort in recovering it before now? Therefore I have not sinned against you, rather you have wronged me by attacking me. Let the Lord, who is judge, decide today which of us is right, Israel or Ammon. But the king of Ammon paid no attention to Jephthah's message. And so that's the end today. Kind of the same issues. I feel like at this point the book of Judges just keeps repeating itself, like Israel worship, like getting comfortable with their life, starting to do things that displeases God. Then they get in trouble, then they ask God. Then after God helps them out, they go back to the old ways, and just like a cycle of continuing sinning and expecting God, you're trying to pull them out. I mean, which God is doing, but like at the same time, like you don't want to be testing God's patience to see how long he could last with our stupidity and stuff. But yeah, something that I felt like was significant within the story was when Abimelech, when Shechem's people were needing help, they were afraid that Abimelech would kill them, and so they ran into the temple of their gods and like thinking that their gods will protect them. even at the end is like a false god, which ended up like killing them because they have unfaithfully, they were not being faithful to God, and so as their punishment they were killed. And so I guess with that, it's like sometimes we could sometimes we have things in our lives, people in our lives where we would rather put our lives in trust into them instead of onto God, who is like a firm foundation in our lives. And so I've heard of people using like they cannot stay off their phones the whole time. They cannot stay off their phones because they feel like they need their phones 24/7. I mean, I myself sometimes will struggle with that, but I don't think I've struggled as much as majority of people. But yeah, phones could be, technology is a big issue. Celebrities, I've heard this. Swifty, who says like, you really trust Swifty? And then she said, yeah. She said like, I trust her more than God. I said, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, at the end of the day, guys, people are people. So why are we worshiping people when God is asking us to worship Him? And so like when we decide to worship other gods besides the God of Israel, the God who came and sacrificed His life for us, if He's not the one we are worshiping, then I'm sorry, but your life is gonna not end so well. You have to choose between the Christian God or whatever God that you make up, but you cannot be worshiping two different gods. That does not work. It's one or the other to show your loyalty. But yeah, that was just something that stood out to me. As I'm trying to see, is like, I remember there was something else I was wanting to talk about, but couldn't remember as of right now. But yeah, it's like you cannot. Without God, there's no success. There's no true success in life without God. And so that's why like having God in our life is so important. And I feel like it breaks my heart, because like people don't understand how valuable, how important God actually is to each of our lives. We just assume He's just another like a divinity figure who just seems to care about us, but at the same time don't really care about us. So oh yeah, and that's the other thing. So as earlier on when I was pointing out the issues between like the Israelites like seemingly to be following God, but then not, then do it again, then not. So with that, something I realized is like maybe it's like it was like a generation thing. It's like one generation once experiences God's help, they may have taught their children a little bit about God, but it's like as that time goes on, like maybe like in 2 generations later, that generation of kids don't even know God. That's why they worship things that are not, they are worshiping other things except for God. And so with that, I find that really interesting, because like again it just goes along with the whole message. It's like spread the word, keep the commands of God, keep God's commandments in our hearts, and be able to do that we have to repeat that among ourselves and to teach it to our next generations so that they don't forget, so that they don't make mistakes that God is asking us that is sinful from the perspective of God. But yeah, I felt kind of bad for Jephthah, who is a son of a prostitute. It's like it's not his fault that he was born to a prostitute. It was his father and his mother messing around, and somehow his mother got pregnant, which gave birth to him. And so like no matter what, like in a family, it's like that person is part of the family. Like even if you don't like it, so treat them like a family. Unfortunately, Gilead's biological sons did not treat Jephthah well, because they think that he's below them all, and so they mistreat him and like basically banning him. And then when they're in trouble, they say, "Oh, Jephthah, would you want to help us?" I was like, why would he do that when you literally just like, why would he help you if all you did was like show disrespect to him and disowning him from your family. It's just that simple, guys. Stop minimizing people, no matter whatever situations they're from. At the end of the day, we are all made in the image of God. So why is that one person deserves to be treated more like human than others? Don't we all deserve to be treated like humans? And that's just kind of a question that we all struggle with, that we need to answer. Even with those people that we don't, especially with the people that we don't like how can we treat them in God honoring, in a godly way, in ways that honors God? But yeah, other than that, I don't have anything else to share. It's just, don't depend on things that are temporary and realizing that they're not going to help you get through hard situations. It's only God who's able to do that. So may you guys go and walk with God.